Hi, this is Darnell with Wave Living Recipes, and this is my review of the Cuisinart Compact Air Fryer Toaster Oven. So let's go ahead and get it unboxed. Alright, so now that everything's unboxed, let me show you what comes with it. There's a crumb tray inside that I'll show you in a moment, but it has basically a wire rack here. It has a bake pan. And it also has an air fry basket. That air fry basket doesn't have rails, so it goes onto the bake pan when you're basically doing your air frying and such. And it also comes with some paperwork, and the manual has a 20-page recipe book inside. There's no pictures in it, but 20 pages of recipes that they've tested themselves. I've always had good success with Cuisinart recipes. It seems that they actually do the testing on the actual cooker that they make the recipes for. So that's pretty good. I want to show you the power cord. It's a 2-prong polarized cord, and the length of it, it's a pretty general, about maybe 3-foot cord there. And they say that this cooker is 1500 watts, and so with that you'd want to be careful with having anything else on the same circuit with it, or the circuit might get blown unless it's something like a 100-watt device or something that is very low wattage. Now this cooker has 6 cooking functions, and they say that it has quiet operation. That will be tested later when we do sound and temperature testing. The temperature ranges are between what they call warm, not sure how what value that is in warm, but it's from warm to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. The time ranges, with the exception of toast, basically it runs as long as you want it to run, and there's really no time control for any of the functions other than toast. Toast has a timer, nothing else has a timer. The rest, you just stop it when you're ready to stop it yourself. So that's interesting. The dimensions of the cooker are 12.5 inches in length, 15.5 inches in width, and 11.5 inches in height. And they recommend that you put this on a heat resistant surface and give 2 to 4 inches all around. And the manual says in large type, the exterior walls get very hot when in use. So they are not basically leaving any mystery to it. They're telling you that the outside is going to get very hot when you're using it. But we'll do more temperature testing on that. And this cooker has a 9-quart capacity. It's 0.3 cubic feet, and they say that it can hold up to 4 slices of bread, air fry up to 2.5 pounds of food, like wings or whatever, or it can hold an 8-inch pizza. And the manual says that the interior is non-stick. And Kohl's advertising says that the cooker is BPA free, and it weighs 20.1 pounds. And I do want to mention really quick, because years ago I did a quickie video about this in a store, and I mentioned, oh, it's too small, I'm not going to do a review of it, it's too small. But I will just say that sometimes Kohl's Cash, when you got Kohl's Cash and get stack it on some coupons and get a good deal, sometimes you go for it. So now I want to show you around the cooker a bit. So you see up front here, you see on the sides you've got some air holes on the side, same on the opposite side there. On the back we've got a little bit of a hump there. There's like an air output area there and a little hump back here. So that's how things look around the back. Underneath you've got basically your stand, your feet. Also on the back you've got cord management tabs on the sides in the back, so that's pretty nice. Now I do want to mention that if this video ever reaches a point that's not to your liking, then there are timestamps in the video description. There is a chapters feature that you can utilize, because we'll be covering a lot. And also here on the channel there are over 900 videos. Okay, so now we're going in for a close-up view of things, and you can see up top here you've got your different functions, you've got your temperature, you've got your time for toast. You don't have time for the other cooks because you're just going to let them run as long as you want, and then you're going to turn it off. And inside there's this crumb tray here that I mentioned. And we also see inside that there's basically one rack level here, just one. And there's a big heating coil down bottom here. And so basically what you would do, if you're using like air fry, you would put in the, well, actually gotta turn it this way. And this is interesting because if you look at the pan is going in lengthwise. You see it's a long pan, everything goes in lengthwise. So, you know, it's a narrow front with a long back. And you put that in if you're like air frying. If you're like toasting or something, then you put that in with the wire rack like so. Now let's look some more inside here. We see basically in the back there's nothing. On the side here there's nothing. I'm going to just kind of lift it up for easier viewing. There's nothing on the opposite side. Everything is up top there. So I'm hoping that you can see now. Inside there's basically heating coils across the top. It's like a big twisted heating coil across the top, as well as the air fry fan, big fan to blow hot air down on things. I'm not seeing much else up top there. I'm not able to see much else. So that's our look inside. All right, so let's do some independent measurements here and see what we get. So going top to bottom here, I'm seeing about 11.5 inches there, about 11.5 or so. Going from one side to the other, I'm seeing almost 12 inches there. It's like almost 12. Then front to back, trying to include the hump in the handle. Let's see. I'm seeing about 15, just about 15 that way. And let's see inside. If I include the hump, since there's only one rack level, front to back is just about 12 inches. Yes, 12 inches. 12 inches front to back. Side to side here, inside is 10 inches. And top to bottom here is about 4.5 inches. If I, let's say, put a pan in like this and do from the pan, we see we get, let's see, yeah, we get about 3 inches there of clearance. I'm also going to check the air fry basket size. Air fry basket size here is 9 by 10.5 or so. Was that 10.5? Let's check again. Sorry. Yeah, it's more than 10.5. It's 9 by 10.75 for the basket. Bake pan. It's got 11.5. And this way we've got a little over 9.5. And the wire rack is a little over 9.5 by a little over 11 by 11.25. Alright, so now we have the Cuisinart next to the Bella air fry toaster oven, which is a 25 quart capacity cooker. Full review of this is here on the channel, but you can see that the Bella is bigger, basically, you know, all around, just larger cooker. And opening up inside, you can see a much larger difference. So, you know, everything is bigger, accessories are all bigger. But I just wanted to give you a quick view of the Cuisinart Compact just next to a larger size air fry toaster oven. Alright, so now I've got the Cuisinart Compact next to the Gourmet digital air fryer with window and light. Full review of this is also here on the channel. And we see that height-wise, the Gourmet is just marginally taller than the Cuisinart. Front to back, the Cuisinart is just a little longer, just by a little bit. Side to side, I'm gonna just do, well, we already did this measurement here, almost about 12. But here on the Gourmet, yeah, it's like 11.5. So Cuisinart's just marginally wider when you got this 8 quart Gourmet versus the 9 quart capacity Cuisinart. And inside the Gourmet has like a little basket to kind of help you do 2 layers of things. But I just want to check out, you know, here the Gourmet has got this big basket. The Cuisinart basket is bigger, generally speaking. You know, it's longer, so it's a bigger basket. And you've got, you know, a bit of headroom here inside. So that's how you get your 9 quarts from the Cuisinart versus your 8 quarts from the Gourmet, which has a taller basket. So now I'm going to get things plugged in and talk to you about the different functions that this cooker has. So let's get this cord plugged in. So now that we're plugged in, since it's not digital or anything, you know, no lighting up or anything of that sort. But basically, it's got an indicator light. Once you actually are turned to a function that's actually running, this light will light up and let you know that the cooker's running, so you always know when it's running. And as I mentioned, when you want to turn things off, you have to turn it to the off setting. So like if I turn on, it's running. As soon as I turn it on, it's running, because there's no time for warm. So, you know, when you want to turn it off, you've got it turned off yourself by turning it off. You have to keep track of the time yourself. There's no automatic shut off going on here. That's something you definitely have to keep in mind, except with toast there is. But let's get into each of the functions. I'm not going to turn each one because it'll start running. But basically the first function that it has is warm. And basically you use this function to keep food warm after it's cooked. You would set it to warm after it's cooked to just keep the food warm and turn the temperature down to, you know, maybe like this warm setting here, which is the lowest temperature setting it has. Then it has the air fry setting, and basically you're supposed to use the air fry basket in the bake pan as I mentioned, and the heat comes from the top down, so it's going to get plenty of hot air. And the pan may even help to reflect that top heat, so sometimes you won't have to toss food, but if you got a lot of food in there, they say you want to toss it during the cook. And, you know, if you got like maybe a big large protein, because that juices are going to seep down, you might want to flip that so that you get some Maillard reaction on both sides or something like that. The broil function is the next function on the dial there. In broil, you use the air fry basket in the bake pan. They mention that you set that to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and for best results they say that you should preheat 5 minutes. So you basically have to turn on broil, count 5 minutes yourself, and then go ahead and get started cooking. Also, they say never use glass oven dishes when you broil. So don't use anything glass when you're broiling. The next function is bake, and it uses the fan, so it's really like a convection bake. And it's recommended to preheat 5 minutes when you're making homemade baked goods. And then the next function on the dial is pizza, and they say for fresh pizza, it's a recommended baking temperature of 450 degrees Fahrenheit. For frozen pizza, they recommend that you bake that at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And so then there's the toast function, which is the last function. Basically, you would turn it around to, basically, you wouldn't even use toast. It's not on the dial here. But basically, you turn the temp to toast, and then you would turn to whatever darkness you want. And you hear the, you know, the ticking. And you would basically let it just, you know, go around and do what it's going to do for the darkness setting that you set to. It's got dark. It's got medium and light. So you can do whatever darkness level you want to do for toasting. And I'm not seeing any light come on at all when I turn things on or anything. So there's no interior light going on in there. So now I'm going to do a temperature test. I've got an ambient probe there on the rack, and we'll be able to view the temperature here. So just closing up. So for temperature, I've got it on 450, and for the function, I'm going to just switch it on over to air fry. I did have to be careful with this cord. If this cord is kind of like keeping the door just a slight bit ajar, then when you turn it to a function, it won't come on. So I had to make sure that the door was closed really well and this wasn't causing any gap so that the functions will work. So I'm going to go over to air fry now, and basically, even though I'll have a timer on the screen, which is digital and going to be accurate, I'm just kind of like gauging time by just like viewing a clock and just kind of guesstimating 10 minutes is what I'm going to guesstimate. So in about 10 minutes I'm going to see what temperature this is at, and we'll continue things from there. Okay, so it's been maybe roughly 10 minutes or so. I've seen the temperature go up as high as maybe 446, 448, but it never really hits 450. It gets close, maybe if they have like an ambient probe higher up in the top, when it gets to, you know, maybe what I'm reading is 446, maybe it's seeing 450. But then it down regulates, it takes the heat off some, and things go down to as low as 420s. So it's kind of going between 420s to 440, upper 440s, where I have the ambient probe at. Now I'm going to do a sound decibel check. So we're reading low 40s. That is a quieter end for a air fryer or air fryer oven. It's a quieter sound. It's a quiet fan. That's pretty good. You can hear it, but it's not very loud. Now I want to basically do some feeling around, see how hot things are. So down here, it's like no heat on the bottom here. Everything's feeling pretty cool there. Yeah, no heat on the bottom, you know, no heat on my table there. On the side here, it's not very hot. Not very hot. Up here, not very hot. It's not very hot. I can just keep my hand there. It's, you know, warm. Here, it's just warm. In the back, let's see, there is the hot exhaust. In the back here, yeah, it's kind of hot in the back. Front glass is always hot. I mean, it's like no matter the cooker, it's got glass. Don't touch it. Alright, so now I've got a thermal imaging camera on things. White is the hottest, white hot with the red target on it. Then it goes down to red, and down from there green and blue. Well, yellow, green, and blue. So we see that, you know, like I said, that window is definitely the hottest area. And that's reading pretty hot, like 360s I believe is what it's reading. Pretty hot on that window. Then up top where the knobs are, very cool. Everything else is much cooler. Going around the side, I see basically things are pretty cool on the side. Going over the top, yeah, things are pretty cool on the top. I mean, the back, you got the hot exhaust coming out, so you're going to have some heat coming out the back there. Just going around to the other side, see what I can see. And yeah, here on the other side, things are pretty cool on the side. And let's see, in the back here, we've got, yeah, the hot exhaust is coming out. There's some heat in the back. But, I mean, even though they give the warning about heat, generally, you know, I've seen worse. I've seen much worse as far as heat on the outside of cookers. You know, compared to some others, this could be promoted as a relatively cooler one on the outside compared to others, because it's got that heat in the front, some heat in the back, but around other parts is not very hot compared to some others. Now I'm going to check if opening the door will stop anything, just to check. Yeah, opening, it does auto pause the running of things. Close up again. You know, when I close up again, things start running again, so that's pretty good. And basically, since everything's manual, you know, if you want to change temp on the fly, or even your function on the fly, you probably can there. So that's pretty good. And so when you want to turn things off, because you could just let this run forever, you know, you just basically turn to off, and that's how you turn it off. But you are the timer, so that's how that works. Alright, so now I'm going to do a toast test. I've got a couple slices of my whole wheat light sourdough bread here. There's a video here on the channel of how to make it. And it's larger than your regular store-bought stuff and more resilient. The cooker is already pretty hot inside from doing a burn-off, which you should always do with any new appliance, even if it's a conventional oven. And so I'm going to go ahead and put it in, and we'll just kind of see how it does with toasting for evenness sake and what happens. I got it on in there, I've got it set to 450 for toast. I'm going to set it to, I'm still going to set it to dark and see how long that runs. Yeah, that's the maximum as far as you can turn it for dark. And we'll just see how this goes. As long as nothing gets too burnt up looking in there, I'll just let it run for the duration and we'll see what happens. Alright, so let's see what we got in here. Alright, so the first slice we see the buttered slice. It's got, you know, melted butter on that side, and on the back it got some melt through there. On the unbuttered slice, and this bread's pretty resilient, and it seems that even with it already being hot in there, it didn't get much toasting on there. A little bit of searing there, and a little on the back, little searing on the back, but I guess I'd have to probably do more than a dark toast to get my bread to really get a good toast going. But you basically see that it is able to do a timed toast, and you're able to, you know, have your melted butter bread and such like that. I guess your dark setting is not going to, you know, super duper burn up things. I mean, the store-bought stuff is going to cook more than this because it's far less resilient than my bread. But this kind of gives you an idea of how toast works, and it has its own, you know, kind of built-in timer function. So now I've got some of my almond flour blueberry square batter here, and I'm going to show you the recipe real quick. And now I'm going to basically do a proper preheat. I'm going to set the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and going to turn things over to bake. And I'm going to let bake run for 5 minutes, and then I'll put the pan on in there. Alright, so I think things have gone for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and put the pan in, put it in lengthwise, like that, and close on up. And usually this takes about 30 minutes or so to cook, so we'll see how long it takes. I'll just keep an eye on things, but don't have to worry about setting a timer. It's like, you know, the conventional ovens when I was growing up where you just stop it when it's ready to be stopped. So we'll just let it keep going. Alright, so things have been going for about 30 minutes, I guess, and I can't, because of the height of the pan, I can't really see, you know, in there, but I've just had to let it go for time and hope that things look good. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things to off and just get in here and see what we've got now. See if we need more time or less, or maybe we went over. So we see the top, you know, it got a heavy browning on top. Let me see if I can turn this around so you can see better. Yeah, got a heavy browning on top. And let's see if it feels done. It feels a little moist in there. I'm going to give it maybe another about 10 minutes. I know that's going to cook the top even more, but I can feel just from tapping, I've cooked these enough, I can tell just from tapping if it's really baked well inside or not. And it's still a little too moist in there with those blueberries and all that. It's going to take a little more. So I'm just going to let it go for roughly another 10 minutes and then stop it. But we can see from baking that it's going to come down heavy on the top. It's a convection bake. So it's going to cook the top heavy. And that's basically how it's going to be with this style of a cooker. Alright, it's been going about 37 minutes and I'm smelling at the top's starting to get a little too done, so I'm going to stop it here and just check one more time how things feel from my touch. Let me try and get this without burning myself. Alright, So you see the top of it again, and let me feel it, see how it feels. Yeah, it's better, definitely better. It needed that extra time. So it's done in there now, but you're going to get, some hard cooking on the top. Alright, so now I'm going to air fry a frozen salmon fillet. I've got some organic extra virgin olive oil on it, some organic no salt seasoning, and some lemon pepper seasoning. Things are hot in here, but we're going to go with it. Guess you can say it got like a partial preheat. So we're going to move the temp up between 350 and 400, call it 375, and do an air fry. I'm going to let that run for between 15-20 minutes. I'll bring you on back. Alright, about 15 minutes have passed, so I'm going to go in and just check things out and rely on that auto pause. Stop it for me. Let's see what the temp is. I'm seeing like 105. Yeah, it's like in the low hundreds. Yeah, it's below 100. So gonna need that extra 5. So we'll let it go for another 5. Alright, things have been going for about 20 minutes now, so let's check temperature again. Yeah, so now we're in the 170, so, it needed that extra 5 minutes, so, it landed somewhere in between the 15-20 minute cook time, which is pretty good. So, let's get this out so you get a better look. So there you go, it's able to do some decent air frying. Alright, so now I want to talk to you about cleaning. And basically you're supposed to unplug it, let it cool down before you start cleaning. The accessories, they say, are not, N-O-T, not dishwasher safe. And so you're supposed to wash everything by hand. And they want you to clean, or they recommend you clean the top interior after cooking anything greasy. And that'll help things to work well longer. And they also say be sure to empty the crumb tray, wipe that clean. And so you want to use like a warm soapy dishcloth to clean things, and then a wet one to wipe things off, and then dry things off after that. And don't use anything abrasive. So let's talk about the warranty. The cooker comes with a 3-year warranty, and that's pretty nice. And I mean, that's the longest I think you're going to get out of anyone for a cooker warranty. That's pretty sweet. And it was pretty interesting how when you turn this cooker off, there's no cool down fan or anything of that sort. Once it's off, and that's it. And you decide when that happens, just like with like conventional ovens that don't have a timer or something of that sort. And so in the video description, there are lots of ways to help the channel, because nothing in this video is sponsored, nothing given to me. Also, you can always check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. Again, that's superwaveovenrecipes.com. And there, and also in the video description, there's buy me a coffee link. Also, there's like YouTube memberships, there's merch, there's donations, and Amazon shop where you pay the same price, help the channel. So lots of ways to help the channel if you choose to do so. And so with all of that said, if you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.